Laura Marano, thank you for hanging and being a part of the pod. Appreciate it.
Oh my God, thank you for having me.
No, 100%. It's been a while since we've had the chance to sit down and chat. And part of that we've talked about prior to all the cameras and stuff coming up. It's the pandemic-y thing that stops. And then we start thinking about how, we literally have said, like, man, it just feels like it was last year, but it was maybe 4 or 5 ago. So
how crazy that this is something that it is a weirdly bonding universal experience that we all went through.
Something that everybody has in common is that the world stopped for us all. And I think also, I don't know about you, and we'll talk a bit about this, is that for a lot of my friends and family, what up, fam? We got the whole squad in the house too, by the way.
We're like,
a lot of growth, a lot of hopefully introspective, thinking and learning. I mean,
I agree. I think, but a bit of a roller coaster in some ways, don't you think? I think it did allow for so much growth, but I think it allowed for such internal reflection, which, growth isn't linear. Growth isn't.
No, I hate those graphs that just make it straight. It's sometimes there's downs, sometimes there's ups, sometimes there's a backwards.
Yeah, you take 3 steps forward, you take 4 steps back. You know what I mean? You definitely, it's a process. And so I feel, that first year, which was, at least for me, complete isolation, really. It was a lot of, I think I do this thing with a lot of my life where I throw myself in work.
Okay, yeah.
So instead of really dealing,
instead of dealing with the,
with all the things, whether was that isolation, whether it was my breakup, a bunch of things, I just go towards work. And I think I'm definitely getting to a place where I'm like, I'm craving the break in some ways for that actual real reconciling of the emotions and the reflection.
Yeah, that's what I say. Chance to sit with those thoughts and to hopefully do the right thing in the moment. Same exact thing for me. The world took a pause, and I learned so much more about myself than I think that I ever would have, because you stay busy, you move, you keep going, you don't give yourself the opportunity to slow down and to truly think about those emotions, those feelings that are happening. So before we move any further, now how's the heart? How are you feeling?
It's been a hard year. It's been a hard year. Yeah, I think I don't know if it's an industry thing. I don't know if it's an age thing. I don't know if it's the world that we live in with social media.
Could it be because you just recently got your first iPhone and you're starting to get hit with all kinds of information things?
God, I hate it so much. No, but I don't want to say it. It's so funny. A fan came up to me and actually totally agree. It was like, you have to stop saying that technology hates you because it's going to hear you. And I'm like, you know what? I actually agree. No, but you know what it is? I think we are so constantly running towards something, and so constantly kind of like, we got to build on momentum, we got to build on this, we got to build on that, and I think you do get to a certain point where you're like, that doesn't matter, or that's not worth it if you're not in a good place psychologically and emotionally.
Wow, that's going to be the heaviest question I think that I asked throughout the. Well, no, I mean that's it. I mean, because other than that, I just want to know how you've continue to persist and continue to strive and stay heart healthy during these these strange times. And let's talk about. Let's go back a little bit to how you found the ability to move forward in some of these weird times, this space to write, to be creative, to share your stories that you've always done.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone had a different process, right? I think for me, again, it was. In 2020, I had already had all these plans of what I wanted to, I was going to release my new EP, my second EP, which I did ultimately end up doing. And I was gearing up to film a movie, which I ended up filming the next year. So there was a lot of things that were already in place, which I think, right, was kind of typical for so many people, right? So many people had, I was going to go on tour, which obviously didn't happen. And so I think for me, it was, for a lot of the time, staying on course of okay, I can't really do these things now, but I'm going to keep doing the work so when I can.
So you can do it.
Yeah. So, there wasn't that much new writing. There was a little bit of writing, but a lot of songs had been kind of written before. And then it wasn't until I went through my breakup in 2021 where I did a lot of new writing. And I was like, really just so much stuff and emotion was kind of pouring out of me that was really raw and really...
Well, one of the things that we as fans and that everyone who's been a family and a friend that's here in the room understands and knows is that you write from personal experiences. Going back to even when I found this interesting. When you were 4, you wrote a song about your Uncle Tony.
Uncle Tony.
Uncle Tony. Like,
yes,
but
yes.
Deep down inside, to have these stories and to know that it's your creative outlet to share them in that way. I want to kind of hang out in this songwriter world of yours. How scary at times is it to tell your stories?
I mean, right, there's 2 aspects of it. Do you journal at all?
I do, yeah. My handwriting sucks if you guys can see.
I
it's like,
love it.
and this is a new one here. So, but yeah, I'm here and it's, yeah.
I'm
but I do.
almost done.
I'm notes, jotting stuff.
I'm almost done with a journal that I've had literally since, 2017.
Okay.
Which is pretty bananas.
All right.
So there's 2 aspects. And the first aspect is just writing it. It's just journaling.
Putting it out.
It's just putting it out. It's just, I'm not even thinking about putting it out for everyone to hear.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for me, right? I'm
Yes.
like, it's an outlet. I'm going to put it all on the table. And then the second aspect is though, oh, am I going to put this out? Is this like a little too personal? Is this a little too this? Is this a little too that? And there's definitely been a few songs where I've been like, oh, maybe I definitely am very cognizant of if I'm writing about somebody.
Well, with that, how therapeutic is it to let that be a release? To know that you're creating these songs, you're writing songs that are your way of journaling, and then you do the amazing stuff, or we're gonna talk about the volume and all this stuff in a little bit. But when you get that release and you get it out there, and then you have so many people who they build their own stories around your story.
Yeah, okay, so I was really nervous. I went on my first tour last year, and I was so nervous. All these songs were about my last relationship, and I was like, is this gonna just like reignite feelings? Like, is this gonna be really hard? Like, what's gonna happen? And I found it so therapeutic. I found it so cathartic because I had fans or people in the audience who, one, were like screaming the lyrics. Which is
it's the weirdest thing I'd imagine.
the best,
I can't imagine.
weirdest thing. But exactly what you're saying, they are putting their own experiences onto the feelings that you're writing. And I think that's so special. Like, this whole year has been a really tough year, and there's been a lot of writing and a lot of reflection within my writing. And so my album is really a lot about that internal reflection, which is very specific to me.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of a concern of like, oh, is this going to feel too specific? But what I've found is the more specific I get in my songwriting, the more, in a weird way, universal the feeling is. Okay, maybe not the experience.
Not the experience, but yes.
The feeling that is underneath that experience is so universal. And I feel like that's actually a really beautiful thing.